Hey, welcome back to Compounding Quietly. The salary is not the problem. Most people who believe they can't build real wealth already have more control than they think. The gap is not income. It is the order. Let's think through this together. There is a number a lot of people carry quietly in their heads. A first real milestone. A number that stops feeling like saving and starts feeling like building. For a lot of people, that number is somewhere around $100,000. And the moment they look at their monthly income, the math feels broken. So most of them stop right there. The assumption is that a modest income means a slow path. But that's only half true. A modest income does slow things down. But a modest income without a clear structure doesn't just slow the path. It stops it entirely. Here's what the pattern looks like for most people. They cover the bills. They spend what remains. And then they save whatever is left after that, which is almost always less than expected. So they tell themselves they'll begin properly when they earn more. But earning more has never once fixed that sequence. It just increases the number that quietly disappears each month. The reason this cycle keeps repeating isn't lack of discipline. It is the wrong order. When spending comes first, you are relying on willpower to defend whatever is left. Willpower is not a financial strategy. Structure is. And that is exactly what today is about. The core question isn't how much you can save on what you earn. The core question is, what happens in the first hour after your income arrives? Most people don't think about that first hour. They see the balance go up. They feel a small relief. And then life starts pulling at it in every direction. A subscription, a dinner, a quick purchase, something for the house, and 2 weeks later, the margin is gone again. This is not a spending problem. It is a timing problem. The money that was available to be invested was never protected from the moment it arrived. There is something specific about how this feels. You know the money was there. You saw it. And then somehow, without any single big purchase you regret, it's gone. That feeling, the quiet disappearance of available money, is exactly what a good structure prevents, not by restricting spending, by moving the investment before the money is ever available to spend. The fix is called paying yourself first. That phrase gets repeated so often it sounds obvious, but there is a real difference between knowing the idea and actually building it as a structure. Here's what the structure looks like in practice. On the day income arrives, a fixed amount moves automatically. Before you see it, before you spend it, before it has any chance of being rationalized away, into a separate investment account, not a percentage you recalculate every month based on how things feel. A fixed number, the same number, every time. Think about someone earning a modest income, enough for rent, groceries, utilities, transportation, and not much visible margin on paper. They look at the budget and conclude there is simply no room. But when they actually sit down and trace every outflow, there is almost always a gap between what feels necessary and what is genuinely necessary. That gap might be $200 a month. It might be $300. The specific number is less important than the decision to treat it as non-negotiable and to move it automatically before anything else happens. If that $300 a month is directed into a low-cost, broadly diversified investment, something like a total market index fund or a dividend growth ETF, and left alone consistently, the compound effect over a decade is not modest. It is genuinely different from not starting. But here is the part most people do not fully sit with. The first 2 years feel like nothing is happening. After 12 months, you might have around $3,800. After 2 years, maybe $8,000. It doesn't look like progress. It looks like everyone around you is further ahead. It looks like the plan isn't working. This is the exact moment when most people stop, or change the strategy, or pause contributions for 1 month and never quite restart. They convince themselves they'll catch up later. But that is not a signal that something is wrong. It is a signal that compounding hasn't started doing its real work yet. Compounding does not move in a straight line. It is slow at the front, nearly invisible in the middle, and accelerating sharply toward the back. The investor who makes it through the slow front end, not through exceptional discipline, but by having removed the monthly decision, is the one who reaches the accelerating back end. There is another pattern worth naming here. When a financial setback hits, an unexpected expense, a difficult month, a sudden bill, and someone pulls from the investment account to cover it, they don't just lose that month's contribution, they reset the emotional relationship with the account. It goes from being a permanent commitment to being a backup fund. And once that shift happens, the structure erodes quickly. The next month's contribution gets paused for a different reason. Then, the month after that, the account remains, but the intention behind it is no longer the same. This is why automation is not just a convenience. It is protection. When the investment moves before you see it, it is not available to be redirected. The decision has already been made. You are not managing willpower. You are managing a system. Coming back to the original question, it is not whether a modest monthly income is enough to build real wealth. Mathematically, with enough time and enough consistency, the answer is yes. The actual question is whether the structure is in place, so that the committed amount actually moves every single month, without requiring a new decision each time. Because a plan that requires a fresh decision each month will eventually produce a month where the decision goes the other way. A lot of people are waiting for income to increase before they begin, but income increasing without structure changing produces the same result, just with a larger number disappearing each month. There are investors building meaningful wealth on modest incomes right now, not because they found a better investment, not because they have extraordinary willpower, because they made one structural decision and then removed themselves from having to make it again. They protected it from every future month, where the temptation to delay would have won. The path to a first major wealth milestone on a modest income is not about identifying the perfect investment. It is about making one committed decision, automating it completely, and protecting that decision from the moments of uncertainty that will absolutely arrive. You don't need a higher income to begin. You need a structure that doesn't depend on how you feel in any particular month. The compound effect is patient. It does not care whether you feel motivated on the 15th of the month. It cares whether the contribution moved. That is the only variable you actually control. The income will change over time. The structure is what you build right now. Those are not the same problem, and only one of them is yours to solve today. Compounding quietly. Slow, steady wealth building. If this helped, subscribe and leave a like. Everything here is for informational purposes only. All final decisions and responsibilities remain with you. Thanks for spending time with Compounding Quietly today.